And welcome back, everybody, once again, as we are getting into the back half of today's games here in the PCS Spring Split 2022. I'm still Pyra. He is still Clement. And, of course, here in the PCS, taking a quick moment to thank our wonderful sponsors. They are, of course, going to be CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible. Now, I forgot to mention this a little bit earlier, but for those of you wondering why we only have 4 games today, we do have a couple more teams that unfortunately you won't get to see just yet, and they are Sem9 and CTBC Flying Oyster. Unfortunately, currently Sem9 have a couple of players at least tested positive for COVID-19, so right now their matches are postponed and will be scheduled for the following week. Updates will come as they come in, but of course we hope they all get well soon. Now, Clement, looking ahead to our last couple of matches, we've got some exciting ones. In this first one, we have got an old face branded with a new face, and a team that is completely fresh-faced coming out of the collegiate scene. It is going to be Meta Falcon Team, the squad that have been formed in a partnership, the collegiate organization, and making their way onto the big stage. This is exciting to see.
Yeah, it's a very fun concept for a team to basically pluck a team from the collegiate all the way to the pro league, keep all the players and coaching staff together, give them a good name in terms of the general manager in Firefox, and see how they can do in the PCS stage. So we do have to talk a little bit about them. They did go 14-0 in the LSC, so they definitely have shown their chops there. The amateur scene of the Asian Esports Cup, so they're very well known, just not in the competitive scene just yet. This will be their first foray, and what you want to know about this team is that it's all about the jungler. 665, he plays the Kiana, the Nidalee, and the Talon, and the rest of the team tries to give him as much support as possible. Most of the players do range from about Masters 100 to 400 LP. They're definitely not your diamond slouches. They can hang with the big boys, but this is going to be their first chance to test their mettle in the PCS.
It does remind me a lot of Hong Kong Attitude from last summer, where it was all about getting Kongye ahead on these big carries. Slightly different champions, some of these assassins, of course. I'm excited if we get to see the likes of a Talon or a Kiana. Nidalee, of course, is always a big one, and we do know that 665 can play Amin Viego. For the rest of the squad, though, they are, of course, Taco, Wen, Whale, and Epic, starting today on the Rift. And yes, that is a very different Taco, and a very different letter last time. I'm glad that they differentiated between this and what we saw last time on the likes of Impunity. Of course, testing their mettle here in this first match in the PCS coming out of the collegiate scene, we'll see how well they can, in fact, hang up against their opponents. That is going to be Hurricane Gaming, and don't let the new name fool you. This is Alpha Esports. They are operating under a new tag, but also under some new players as well. ICU, formerly known as Boss, also Aurelia Carryu, was a sub for Machi in the past. Also played in the ECS back in 2019 and 2018. Very carry and aggro-oriented, but as the other name might imply, we might get to see a lot of Aurelia.
Yeah, I absolutely love that name. There's so many ways you could read it. He could be sending you to the ICU, or he could be the Aurelia Carryu main here coming onto the Rift. For the other members, I think you might have spotted a familiar face in Aliao, which is the Chinese spelling of Oreo. So this is actually Xiaotu. He's just changed his name and his haircut and moved over towards the jungle position. Was a very favorite Echo and LeBlanc assassin player that we saw in the previous split, but now he is taking his talents to a different position. Cha-Cha, there's very little known about him. He's he's connecting from mainland China, and that's why you don't have a webcam here. But he hasn't played in the LDL or any of the TGA that we know of. He's going to take a chance at Hurricane Gaming. And as for the bot lane, this is actually the substitute duo of another LSC team in the Wannan Lions. So a very interesting collection of players. Honestly, people were kind of perplexed why this team was put together and the way it's structured, but maybe there is some magic in this madness here.
Yeah, we'll have to see if there's a method to it for sure, because Alpha Esports last split, there was a lot of question marks there, and it never ended up panning out. If they can turn that around, right the ship as it were, we shall see. But from Meta Falcon Team, a squad that is very well acquainted with themselves, we'll see how well they can do up against the likes of the Hurricane Team. Into the picks and bans we go. Xin Zhao, Lux, and Zeri removed on the blue side. Hurricane will respond with a couple of junglers. The Graves and the Lee Sin have been removed. So clearly, they've done their homework. The focus is all on limiting the huge power that 665 can bring, but they also are going to add a Leona to the mix.
Yeah, this Lux ban seems incredibly targeted. I'll have to be honest, I don't really know the champion pools that well coming in from Bangtu and Enhao, but you usually do not ban a Lux unless you know that there's a Lux main on the opposing team. While we'll talk a little bit about the jungle bans here, I think are very interesting. With Xin Zhao and the Lee Sin out of the way, that does leave a lot of room for both Aliyah and 665 to go for those assassin junglers. I would imagine Viego is going to be a very big priority for both of these players given their playstyle.
Yeah, of course, the focus is on other lanes to begin with, though. For Meta Falcon team, they open up with the Renekton, so a lot of top lane early bullying potential. And the Diana hover, we did see Hana showing this a little earlier to great effect. I mean, and a Diana can get off to a flying start and roll through an enemy team. It will be locked for 665. Let's see what they pair it with. Well, Hurricane on the opposite side going with a very safe combination of Ezreal and Karma.
Yeah, this is a very strong mid-game spiking comp, and Karma has been some of the most played supports in this Season 12. It really has shifted more towards an Enchantress meta, and Karma has that wave shove where you could see a double poke composition coming out from the side of Hurricane Gaming. Also, another very popular solo queue, but less so in competitive pick, has been this Hecarim. He really has been an S-tier pick in solo. But he is a champion that unfortunately does require you to snowball a little bit more to be effective, and we haven't really seen him that much on the big stages.
I love that, Zhao goes for a name change, a role swap, and the first pick that he does is this Hecarim, this solo queue hero champion. I do like that this is the making of kind of a gotta go fast comp, right? I mean, they could add a lot more speed boost and get this so much engage potential by way of actually running into the enemy team. I'm curious to see where it'll end up going, for sure. MFT, they get into the ban phase 2. Vex for the 3rd time now gets removed. We also see a Thresh getting taken off the board by the likes of Hurricane. So where will we go from here?
Definitely the best combination that you could get with Ophelio, so they're just going to take that protection away, make sure Hecarim can land, can find his target in the backline a little bit easier. If I'm NFT, I'm definitely looking for some sort of a triple dive coming in here. You already have the Renekton and the Diana in place, so I would suspect that they're going to go for something that's relatively strong early game in the mid lane, just to keep that Diana afloat, and late game you have that Aphelios there to back you up as well. So a very well-rounded out composition in terms of their power spike, kind of cascading together to reach a climax. And on the other hand, for Hurricane Gaming, this is very clearly the making of a poke composition coming out here. You have the Jace, you have the Ezreal, and the Karma. They can all fire from a very long distance, and then the Hecarim is incredibly difficult to catch and can also fear away targets with the Onslaught of Shadows if anyone dares come near. So I think they have kind of shown their cards, and it's up to NFT to really pack in more engage to kind of make sure they can stick onto their targets.
Yeah, an interesting strategy for the defensive Hecarim. We'll see if MFT can break through it. They will go ahead and give themselves a little bit of engagement as well as another frontline tank in the form of the Nautilus, but it's the Akali that comes out for when. All right, I like it.
Yeah, this is
2 diving champions. A lot of AP on this roster.
You got your triple dive already, your dive buddies, Akali, Renekton, and Diana holding hands, and honestly, I really like Diana in this meta because she could be built so many different ways. The majority of the players are actually building Turbo Chem Tank on her. You used to see the tank Akalis quite often these days, as she doesn't really need that many items to stay relatively safe. We have seen a lot of players just forego Flash completely and just rely on her Shroud and her Shuriken Flip to keep her alive throughout the entire laning phase. And then in team fights, your first item might be a tank item, but your second and third items are still AP, and you can still score target kills relatively easily there. So I do like what MFT are building right here. It's a go forward, go fast sort of composition. You do have a lot of burst damage, and if you catch someone out, you can just blow them up.
Yeah, and on the opposite side, of course, you mentioned the makings of a poke comp. They have the defensive Hecarim enabling them there, and also the Rise that rounded it out with Cha-Cha too. That's another champion that can build a little bit more on the tanky side. We saw it last time around as well, and it also gives them an opportunity to maybe get things into the back line. I mean, a lot of those champions that want to poke may not want to do that, but could you imagine just teleporting Hecarim into the back and like, okay, everyone's going to get scattered in all directions from the Onslaught of Shadows, and it's easy pickings. That's obviously the dream engage there for the likes of Hurricane. But I do like that they've given themselves some options. Just looking at the two, nameplates off and everything, who do you give the favor to in this particular lineup?
Ooh, with the nameplates off, I definitely have to favor the offensive team. You know, I'm an LPL lover. I watch that region, and I really like how many engages that people can pull off. I like the creative ways that you can flank players. So in terms of comp and play style, I really like the bottom side. For the top side, I think the key is actually going to be this Rise. If he can actually interrupt the Moonfall from getting into a good position with the Rune Prison, then that could mean just knocking up 3 targets in the back line or only getting a tank in the front. So that is going to be absolutely critical on Cha-Cha and how fast he can press those buttons.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a Rise player, you kind of have to be able to press those buttons fast, right? So we'll see how well it goes early on. Right now, we got a 5-point start. Let's go ahead and take a look at our summoners. We do see on the Jace going ahead and rocking that new keystone that we've had this season.
Yeah, the first strike coming out for that poke in lane. It is pretty conditional because you do have to be the first one putting in damage, so you mainly see it on champions like the Jace, like the Corki, that get the first hit in on lane trades. So we are going to get that from the top lane. And, you know, Taco, the interesting thing here is he's not committed to a chem tank build. He could go that. I think it makes the most sense because he does want to create engage opportunities for the rest of his divers. But hey, if he gets ahead in lane, he could still just go the normal AP route and give ICU a beating up here. Meanwhile, if we look at the jungle positions, we do see a very, I would say a very defensive start from the Dianas, just making sure to avoid all confrontations early on.
Yeah, you want to get to 6, right? I mean, it's not so much a champion that's going to be able to start ganking and farming people until you are able to pull off your full combo. Definitely circling back to Taco as well. I do love that, like, you know, when you watch enough League of Legends over the years, over the seasons, every once in a while you get, like, weird, like, inter-season deja vu, and looking at, like, 3 rejuvenation beads on my screen, I'm just like, oh god, what season is it again? I love that, like, this is kind of come full circle a little bit with some of these builds.
Yeah, this is... I'm not a huge fan of this, to be absolutely honest, because I feel like at some point you do have to sell the Juju beads. They look beautiful, and it's always fun having max items like 4 minutes into the game, but I'm not sure they're really as effective as something just like a Doran Shield, and you know, it just seems like Taco is very, very afraid of this lane matchup coming from ICU, from a Jace that is just trying to farm him for money.
Yeah, it kind of begs the question as to why they wanted to opt into it in the first place, right? I mean, I suppose that's, you know, a question that we won't be able to get an answer to. We just have to see if it works out. Taking a look across the board, though, for the rest of it, as you mentioned, slow, relatively defensive start from Meta Falcon team. This squad has a very rounded power spike. When do you expect them to start pulling the trigger? Do you think it is when 665 hits 6?
Oh man, that sentence was so hard to unpack for me.
I know, there's a lot of numbers in there. It's difficult. It's hard, man.
I would say first item, that's when you see Diana have her spike. It's less about the 6 and more about having the proto belt to get onto targets a bit easier there. So I think the first mythic spike is going to be when NFT are, you know, fully engaged. And you do want to get Renekton in. Renekton is one of those champions that everyone bans, but actually has a terrible win rate. It's sub 20 win rate across LCK and LPL. So it's very telling that this champion, after all of the nerfs that have happened, does fall off quite hard. So I think you really want to get a mid-game game plan going where you can have a big team fight win around the Drake or the Herald. That's going to be the game plan for an NFT.
They are going to be showing both junglers. Yeah, something very different between MFT and NFT, absolutely, Clement. Oh, yeah, when? Goes in, goes out. I mean, again, not much you can do as 665 in this situation. I think he was just there as an insurance policy.
Yeah, didn't want to get ganked as the Rise was pushing out, and this is a very comfortable situation for the Rise, even though you might think, oh, Renekton early on very strong, but he doesn't work that well against range, especially against someone with the phase rush. So we are seeing Diana just help him with his lane quite a bit here. Or actually, now that I think about the way MFT is structured, Diana could just be leeching experience from the mid lane. That's also a strategy we have seen from guys like Kanavi.
Yeah, it's it's a legitimate strategy. Sometimes the lane tax is in the form of gold, sometimes it's in the EXP instead, and now 665 is going to find Olio in the jungle, but that Hecarim should be able to get away right into the face of Taco, who didn't realize ICU had been following at the back, and it's just tit for tat right now as they focus on low health, or rather low mana for ICU, forces the flash away. And now Chacha's coming to the party. Let's see if he can dish out any more DPS. Shock Blast does not connect, and it's just a little bit back and forth, but clearly both teams want the commitment as they dash forward, looking for first blood. Who's going to get it? It's going to be Wen! But will they pay for it? 1 for 1, both junglers down. Wen trying to dash the Shock Blast does manage to get back to the safety of the base gate. What an extended engage for a 1 for 1.
Yeah, and that actually ends up favoring NFT just a little bit because they actually get more gold out of the exchange here. Getting the first blood, that's plus 100. And they also pull the Jace and Akali lane away. You know, if I'm Akali and I get to hit level 5 without laning with the Jace, I count that as a small win. A little bit over-aggressive from MFT early on. I don't think these flash trades were that worthwhile. But, you know, Hurricane Gaming, they want more. Unfortunately, they don't really have the mana for the Rune Prison right off the bat. And I think that's what extends the fight to the point that Wen actually finds first blood on the jungler. It was a really close affair, but unfortunately, you know, that Rune Prison not coming out until much later into the skirmish really meant that Hurricane Gaming, they didn't really gain that much out of it.
No, it was a little bit wonky as a result. And, you know, I do think this does favor Meta Falcon team in that they do have a limited window to really work with this Renekton. As you mentioned, it's kind of famously a champion that falls off really hard in the late game, but if they can get him ahead early, then they can use the pressure that he can exert on the map to try and secure themselves even more. However, it is going to be Hurricane Gaming that are starting up on this objective, the Mountain Drake. Seems like we've had 3 Mountain Drakes first every time today. It's an interesting batch of RNG on the Rift, but Hurricane Gaming will secure that objective to kick things off.
I like it because the PCS is a bloody place. It's blood for the blood god, skulls for the skulls throne. So we don't want any defensive Drakes coming up here. We really want to see people just getting blown up, especially with this triple dive composition coming in.
Infernal will be the next one too. We won't get the soul on it or the rift, but that's okay. I really do. I am enjoying seeing the Hextech Dragon. We don't talk about the other one, but it's gone now anyway, so that's fine.
Oh, it's coming
meanwhile,
back.
Whales just slew a second. Don't say that. Don't you put that
No, they're
that
putting
juju
it
into the
on
universe.
a W from Glask. The new champion actually has an ability that can just revive. So
that's okay. I've lived through
That's
Mordekaiser.
okay.
I don't want that in a Dragon Soul. That's all I'm saying.
I felt like it was such a ballsy move to like cancel Chemtech Drake and then say, "Oh, we're actually gonna put it on a non-ultimate ability." So I was just like, it was pretty funny for me, but we'll see how that champion works out. She looks extremely fun. Renata is, definitely breaks a lot of trends here. The Berserk mechanic is going to be completely new as well. We can talk about that in the future when it does come out.
Yeah, it's down the line, but you know what? I respect it. I respect keeping on top of things. I'm like the opposite. I don't even play like anything on the PvE. I'm just like no. It doesn't exist in the game yet. It doesn't exist. I do the same thing for Teamfight Tactics. Yeah. I am still spamming my yordles. I don't care what the mid set's going to be. But that's back into this game, Clement.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. No, you go ahead. You go ahead. It's all right.
I just want to say that's actually what all coaches do as well, because they have to be so focused on this patch, they don't really have time to look ahead either.
It's hard, right?
Yeah. You are going with the competitive trends here.
Are you telling me that I should be a coach? I feel like that can only end poorly.
I think you should stick to being a caster.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Look, I appreciate the candidness. It's important. It would not.
You definitely have had a much. You've already built up a career path over here, but in the meantime, we do have Diana and the Renekton combo just dominating mid jungle here. So they're gonna take that first Herald, and I think that is a huge boon for this MFT composition here, because it's gonna be a huge chunk of gold on what I would suspect is the top lane here. And if you can throw Diana and Akali into a lane, it pretty much forces Alio to kind of respond to the top lane too here as well.
Yeah, you can put ICU on the back foot, right? Like on this Jace that's going to want to like just completely take over the lane, already has a pretty significant CS advantage. That can start to turn the tide for you a little bit there, as 665 is contesting on his own chicken camp, and Olio is taking that one away. A lot of members of Hurricane Gaming down here on the bottom side of the map, and actually that's a pretty far pushed Whale. He could be in trouble. You can see all the things fly, and they actually flash for him, and here's the engage now, as they are going to try and get the big stun off, and in goes the Onslaught of Shadows. And yeah, that was just a positional error, unforced by MFT's bot lane.
So weird, because you see MFT actually have the ward in the river, so I guess they just didn't expect the Realm Orb to be used in that fashion, but yeah, way too overextend, and ends up being a very easy kill, as Bang 2 might return the favor.
Yeah, talk about
really
overextensions. Yeah, you know, it's one thing to get caught out of position when you don't have a dash or a blink. It's another when you do, and you still use it. Bang 2 was way too far forward.
So it does end up equalizing quite a bit here, as we see Cha-Cha. It really is hell as a Renekton trying to play against this. You need all the jungle support you get. So this Renekton in lane actually isn't going to be that effective overall. I think he's just going to be kind of a bruiser, tank front line, someone to soak up the damage as the rest of the members of Akali and Diana go in on their target. But overall, this is going to be relatively ineffective coming in from 665. He is getting spotted the whole way through. And we also see Karma roaming down to make sure that Herald doesn't get max value.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little tough if you're this Meta Falcon squad right now. You're kind of losing a little bit of the edges that you built into your composition. And even though they have a relatively well-rounded set of power spikes, it's difficult at the moment. MFT's jungler looking forward for something here, but unfortunately not a whole lot he could do, as Olio is there. So is Epic. You can see the anchor going out, and he turns tail and runs the opposite direction. So no serious engagements. Both teams have been showing the willingness to pull the trigger, but now they've backed it off just a little bit. And it is Meta Falcon team that have actually started to secure control over this Dragon Pit area, and they might be able to take down the Infernal Drake.
Yeah, they're looking at Hurricane Gaming, and they see 3 tiers across the board. That's basically 2,000 gold that does not provide combat stats. So MFT they're liking their chances in this upcoming team fight.
Great hook! That's one way to get the Hecarim from going anywhere. Onslaught of Shadows burns, and they might just have enough left in the tank as he flashes forward, and it's going to be the kill! A little bit of help from Whale as well. 665 will fall as the cavalry from Hurricane has arrived, but the fight is just happening over and over, and they take down Enhao. Now here comes ICU. Let's see if he can clean this one up right now, or will there be doctors on call across the board? A double kill for the Jace, and it's Hurricane cleaning up.
Only one member surviving from MFT, and she didn't really show her face in the Akali top lane. Beautiful stuff with the pre-14-minute teleport. A lot of people forget that top laners can still impact these fights if you go too deep into enemy territory. A couple of critical plays here from Ali All. He actually gets the Onslaught of Shadows, which makes him unstoppable during the Ruthless Predator, you know, really shifting his position toward his own team and allowing Bang 2 to get a lot of damage in. And ICU gets a super lucky shock blast across the wall right onto 2 targets, as unfortunately we see Epoch walking back to his death there.
Yeah, that was dirty, and this is why we see, you know, these players that are really known for like a couple of carry champions, when they get that comfort level, it can be huge. Gets himself an Eclipse, of course. Now they're going to try and push in with the Shelly. Will get 1 charge to take down a couple of turret plates, and that's going to be it. But yeah, Hurricane Gaming really keeping it close in this one, and have a pretty much bang on even in the gold game. But it's going to be Meta Falcon aiming to take down this Infernal, but not uncontested. As Olio is sniffing around the side, here comes Bang 2 and the rest of the squad as well. This could be a full-on 4v4 once more.
Yeah, and we do have the ultimates almost coming up from Epoch. They're still waiting on that. They find their target.
It's going to be Bang 2, but he's able to shift away. Meanwhile, they turn their attention over to Olio, and he has no flash. Can't get over the wall. Dragon all but abandoned, and it doesn't matter when, though. A little bit low. Dominus is not going to do enough as they take him out in this one. So despite winning the initial engage, they lose out on the tempo on the follow-through, and Hurricane end up with the Dragon.
And once again, we see ICU still being the difference maker here. The top laner being able to engage in these fights, while Akali with the chem tank is still trying to get into position. That was a really beautiful sequence of events, but I do feel like Epoch actually pushed his advantage a little bit too far. They went up the ramp to kind of chase the Ezreal and Karma, and that's just not going to fly. You can see, I like this sequence where Epoch is trying to back off because his ultimate is just about to come online. They have a great opportunity to get a good bait out of this, but Olio, I think he was aware of the timers or something, but he walked back just in the nick of time, does not present himself as a target, and forces Epoch into a suboptimal ultimate that has to have Wen charge up a ramp. He has to 1v3, and afterwards, the Infernal Drake is still helping out. He was not a neutral observer at all in that fight.
Yeah, really good use of not only the terrain, but the knowledge of the timers and the objectives in play there for Hurricane. You know, we wondered about this squad and how well they'd be able to play together. You talked about, you know, playing from multiple locations and how that can affect the communication. Clearly, it's been an improvement from what we saw on Alpha Esports last time around with their batch of players. So, you know, obviously it's very early in the split to make any bold statements about trends and whatnot, but it's a good start from this team, especially against the likes of a squad that have played together for as long as MetaFalcon team have in their collegiate.
Yeah, this team definitely knows each other very well, but so far that synergy hasn't been able to show itself in terms of the team fighting. And I think the big question is, can Taco, with so much time spent on his own, can he finally make an impact?
Yeah, I think he's going to get a little bit of help from Epic here, as ICU didn't realize and didn't even need the help. Epic just comes in to give him the thumbs up as Taco does finally land a kill. And, you know, that's pretty good gold in his pocket, but hasn't been able to impact the map as much as you mentioned.
That was really cute coming from the two players right there. You could see that Taco wanted to get the extra assist gold to his teammate, but then ICU started farming, and he was like, nah, you have to die.
Yeah. Meanwhile, speaking of having to die, I think no, he's going to be able to stay alive with the Dominus turnaround once again, this time for 665, and Wen's going to be the one to pick up the kill. Olio's going to be charging on out of there, but man, some of these 2v2s, they go real back and forth.
Yeah, they didn't expect the Diana to show up, and she got a beautiful pullback on the backline target of Cha-Cha, which basically took him out of his combo, and they were able to win that one while also just getting top lane towers at the same time. So, you know, we were talking about Hurricane getting a small lead, but if you look at the gold now, MFT has completely erased that and has now taken the lead.
Yeah, it does swing a little bit back and forth here, and when they're able to find the advantages, it does seem like it's very skirmish-heavy this game. We've had a couple of these 5v5s, but for the most part, both these teams really taking the scrappy angle to try and find advantages, and not afraid to just burn ultimates. I mean, obviously, Ezreal's one of the champions that can do that, but Bang 2 just, you know, sends a true shot right down the mid, chunks out Whale in a bit of the wave, and ensures that they can't keep pushing on this. You take a look at where the gold is on both these teams too, and you start to get a better picture. It's Bang 2 who's leading the charge, and Wen on the opposite side.
And I do also want to point out about 665's gold. We have to remember, when he started this game, he was behind about 4 to 5 camps consistently, but since he's been leeching so much from the mid lane, he's actually overtaken the CS score from Olial at this point, and he's already got that the rocket belt ready as well. So I feel like this is MFT coming into their really strong point in the game, where they have the Stride Breaker, they have the Chem Tank, Turbo Chem Tank, and their ability damage is at its peak around the level 9 mark here. So I really feel like MFT, if they can force objectives relentlessly, they will get handsomely rewarded. And Hurricane Gaming, you can tell that they're kind of resorting to picking up the leftovers on the map at this point.
Yeah, anything you can clean up is going to be able to give you a little bit of gold, which is great. Cha-Cha should be able to fire off the rest of this turret. Obviously, Wen can't really do anything about that. But the rest of Hurricane really hanging around in this mid and kind of bottom side of the river at the moment. It's going to be a Cloud Dragon coming up in about 30 seconds, but that's still enough time to react as the Rift Herald does get popped here in the mid, and MFT looking to finish off that turret in answer as the map just starts getting more and more open in this game. Bangtu and Enhao not going to be able to do much, but Olio might be able to make the difference here, and you can see the portal coming up for Cha-Cha as they make their move in, but it's a fight on multiple fronts here as they turn it once again. MFT closing, and the jaws snap shut on Cha-Cha, and that is going to be it, a tower and a kill.
Yeah, Cha-Cha was pretty much abandoned by his team once the teleport came down. He was still walking forward after Olial was trying to retreat there, so I felt like there was some level of miscoordination happening from Hurricane Gaming. It didn't feel like Cha-Cha really needed to engage in that one. They could have just let Olio escape. But ICU's finding some good poke that could change the fight.
Yeah, Epic, he kind of misses a little bit on that hook, and in goes the Onslaught of Shadows, and now going to be able to finish the fight onto Epic. And they do manage to pick one up. It was only the support, so MFT still feeling themselves here on taking down this dragon. They do have the damage, but look at ICU. He's lining up the shot right now, looking for Shot Blast. As Enhao going in there, the dragon does get smited down, but will he be able to escape the pit? You can see Taco already moving away, and wow! Olio goes in and immediately gets blown to bits right here. It is a very scrappy fight, but Hurricane, they should be able to clean up, or should they? 665, they're going to pay for it here. And at the end of the day, they do. But it just goes back and forth, and you can see how bloody this game is. Sub 20 minutes, 12 kills on both teams.
So it was a 4v3 and a Drake going over to... I actually went over to Hurricane Gaming. So...
oh, wow, I even missed that, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'm sorry, the Cloud Drake. So it did go over to MFT, and on paper, that might seem fine for a trade, but we do have to pay attention that this Ezreal is extremely fed at this point. This is a very early Muramana coming into the fight. He's doing massive amounts of damage, and he was not shut down during this fight. So I think, you know, on paper, you could definitely say the trade went in favor of MFT, but they are creating a raid boss coming in from Bing 2.
That they are, and I think that's the quiet thing, right? Like, you look at a champion like Ezreal, and it's easy to dismiss as like, oh, yeah, you know, he's going to be very poke-heavy, he's going to be able to do damage consistently, but he's not quite as exciting or flashy as some of these, like, you know, Aphelioses or Jinxes or Zeres, but Ezreal still can dish the damage, and not to mention, ICU was still doing work in that as well. The poke that they can rain down, it's going to be a little hard for MFT to deal with down the line, and I don't know if some of their front line's going to be able to hold up to it.
Yeah, personally, I feel like MFT should not take fights without Diana having Moonfall. Missing that core engage component just means that they have no one to deal with Ezreal. I just feel like they're going to lose every single fight if they don't have that ultimate to keep their eyes on to Bangtu at this point. So we're going to see how they execute the next couple of ones. I still feel like they're in a slight lead coming into this coming into these fights, but they do have to be more selective on their targets. If they don't finish off with ICU or Bangtu, they should not hang around the objectives.
Yeah, definitely giving some credit to Olio for setting up these plays. I mean, even if he gives his life for it, it does seem like as long as he gets in and is able to press R, he's done his job to set up for the team. Because that moment of fear where the Onslaught of Shadows comes in does give the opportunity for Bangtu and ICU to start cleaning up, and Cha-Cha as well if they can make it happen. So definitely knowing the game plan on the Hurricane Gaming side. The question is how well they can execute it, as they are hanging around here in the river. A little bit in danger of being pincered. You can see that Taco is around the side at the moment, as 665 is letting him chase.
Bangtu is completely exposed.
Yeah, he is right now, and here comes the chase once again on the AD carry. He is an Ezreal, but you can't get away from that one. Shut down, an insult to injury. That Whale gets the kill, and now Cha-Cha running for the hills, as is Olio. Metafalcon team, they baited that one brilliantly, and now without an AD carry on the Hurricane Gaming side, it's going to be Baron time for MFT.
Yeah, that was the most fed player on Hurricane Gaming. Had a 350 gold bounty. Now MFT is about to turn this one around.
They're going to try for this one. Baron successfully pulled off. Olio looking for that charge on. He does get stunned. Do they have the damage to take him down? Not quite, but the rest of the team turning on the opposite side. ICU and Enhao taken very, very low, and they are going down as the Diana's charging forward. Taco with the cleanup effort on Enhao as well, and Cha-Cha has got nothing left to do as he tries to two-step his way out, but it's not happening. That's going to be the kills, the delayed ace, and the Baron.
Yeah, no players dropping down from MFT whatsoever, so this is just a straight 5-for-0 trade. And right now, all Hurricane Gaming have forward to look to is that Arcane Barrage. Let's see if he can find anything. Does scrape a couple of HP bars, but not the crucial Baron.
It's hard to do at the best of times, trying to snipe it down. That would have been brilliant, would have been great. And it's, you know, there's no reason not to spend the cooldown. It's very fast to come back, but nothing doing. MFT, they kind of walk away with the lion's share of everything there.
Yeah, I think Taco definitely has to be the MVP in these couple of two fights, just ambushing the Ezreal Bangtu as he's about to walk up his own ramp. That was absolutely beautiful play. A little bit hilarious for Hurricane Gaming to leave Ezreal like that completely in the open. Even his support was trying to go forward to chase the Diana. So, it looks a little bit comical, but we do have to give props to where it's due. Taco finding the great flank angle that we were mentioning earlier on in this composition. And then the turnaround was very well done as well. You can see when cutting off the ramp, the most easiest route for escape for Hurricane Gaming. Aliel unfortunately has to walk past both the Renekton and the Diana to get away at this point, and it's just open season for Taco. Like, no one has eyes on this Akali, and she's just able to run amok in this comp.
Yeah, the Akali did a great job setting up the play. Also want to give some credit to 665 for, some stellar Oscar-worthy acting there to try and get them to chase. But meanwhile, he's going to get caught out just for a second, but they will turn this on. 665 staying alive through it all, and Olio is actually going to be the one going down, or is he, as he zooms away, but leaving the rest of his team out to dry, as Enhao and Cha-Cha there are going to get deleted. A little bit of time bought as they try to stay alive in this one. Enhao flashing away, still not enough, as the slice, the dice, the dominus comes through, and it's a double kill going over to Whale here as he sends out the Moonlight Vigil to chase away the rest of the team. On this Baron empowered push, you can really see Meta Falcon team pulling away from the pack with a significant gold lead. It was so close most of this game, but it's now ballooned to 8,000, and they will be able to secure, on top of it all, another Cloud Drake.
If I had to summarize this game, it would be don't chase Diana. Just don't. You're a poke composition. Yeah. Why would you try to trace her into a tri-brush? She's obviously trying to fake out all of you. Hurricane Gaming still took that bait. Hook, line, and sinker. All of them died. They lost double towers. That was just so not worth it. Like, chasing the Akali and then switching targets over. Like, you have to anticipate that there is a rescue squadron coming over. Aliel even ults to try to kill the Diana, who... This just didn't make sense to me, this entire sequence. Like, the way you try to play your comp is you try to poke them out. You try to play when everyone is present, so there's no flanking opportunities, and you have a fed Ezreal, and you just try to throw Arcane Barrage and Mystic Shot over and over again. They completely ditch the ICU and Bang 2 strategy and go for this weird Karma Chase Hecarim circus play, and it just ends up backfiring again and again.
Yeah, when you just throw your own strategy out, it doesn't work quite so well, it turns out. Now, Hurricane are going to try to answer on this one. They do find a flanking angle in the mid, but will it be enough? As you can see, even Whale was able to flash away. Look at the damage he's dishing out, and now Taco's going to try to clean this up. Even though they did get the edge, he's 1v4, and he is chasing them away right now as the rest of the cavalry is soon to arrive to cut off Olio. 665 getting the kill. Cha-Cha now should go down soon, and even with the Realm Warp going, absolutely nothing doing. Whenever they seem to have an edge, Hurricane Gaming just sputter out as Bang2's in the wrong base, and this is going to be the ace. He does get the kill, but Wen cleans him up. I mean, it was a lot of kills they got on the opposite side. That was a very back-and-forth fight at the end.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun one, and, to be honest, there was a lot of different ways that MFT could have handled this situation. They actually could have continued pushing. Like, the minion wave wasn't even there, and this was a tower dive early on. We see the 3-man trying to get Whale, but unfortunately for them, he had double sums plus the stopwatch, so he was able to survive for a very long time, even pick off a target before he goes down. And if not for Bang 2, this would have been far, far, far worse for Hurricane Gaming. So I think Hurricane Gaming has probably gotten the lesson after this fight. If you want to chase people down, if you want to engage in a 5-man, at least wait for Ezreal. Ezreal is extremely fed at this point. He has a very strong item in the Malmortius that is going to cancel out most of the damage from Diana. He can survive the burst, and he also has the Crown of the Shattered Queen. So that Diana is not going to kill him on the first try. All Hurricane Gaming have to do is just to protect Bang 2. Make sure their artillery piece can keep firing.
Yeah, I mean, that really turned the tide, right? Because at a certain point, it was like 1v3, and Bang 2 was able to clean up 2 more kills to really make that a lot closer. So, Hurricane kind of staying alive in this one, but overall, the tempo seems to be in favor of MFT, even though that was the fight that Hurricane wanted. Let's see where they go next on the map. Pings are over towards the Baron Pit. It's going to be a little while before that one comes back up. About 40 seconds, rather. And we'll have to see if that's where the next 5v5 takes place.
And at this point, it really is all about those flanking angles. If you can spot where Taco is going to be on the map, I think you can save yourself a lot of grief of the damage coming in from your back line. So We will have to see where Hurricane Gaming does drop their wards. We do see the pink around the Krugs, and they do have their Raptors warded as well. But I don't think that's really going to be quite enough, as we see Taco slinking into the red side again. Wen could be caught out here, though.
He could be. Let's see if he's going to be able to get away, as now between Cha-Cha and Olio, I think he could be in a little trouble, but the cavalry is arriving nonetheless. My goodness, Wen is tanky in the Dominus, and he still stays alive, dishes the damage, and now the teleport to cut him off, but another Realm Warp to escape. It's just a bunch of close calls here, but a Summoner expended in exchange for that ultimate from the Rise.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised that Wen was able to survive for so long. You know, I think it really has to come down to the close to full tank build that we're getting out of Cha-Cha, and also Olio just not having a lot of damage either. So Renekton able to survive without even going for the Gore Drinker, and now we do have MFT in a positional advantage. They are going to start this Baron way sooner than Hurricane Gaming can get onto position.
Yeah, they might be able to contest, but they're not going to have a very large window. And actually, scratch that. I think this one's going down in the blink of an eye. They will be able to secure it, and now the teleport 5v5 might just be on here. As you can see the Rise coming in, but instantly Banana goes through. Look at the damage. It's Taco right on the front line, and he's taken down. And now the rest of the team going to scatter to the four winds. And with the Baron, with Taco on the front, just so much damage. Epic is able to throw out that dredge line, and it's beautiful to catch on to Bang 2. That heal, he didn't have the flash, Clement. He had 5 seconds left on it practically, but that's all the difference, and MFT's marching down mid lane.
I've got to say, I really dislike the Cha-Cha teleport coming into this fight, because it was really in the middle of nowhere, and his team had to carry for him. They've already lost the Baron. There wasn't really a need to teleport that close into the middle of MFT, and the rest of the members just played very dearly for this, as we see our LSC team about to snag their first win in the big leagues.
Graduating out of Collegiate and into the PCS, Meta Falcon team will net themselves the first victory of their spring split.
And congratulations. It does seem like this system, LSC, that has been built up and crafted from the TESL Association for such a long time, is producing results right here. A pretty clean game overall from MFT. I feel like they played to their strengths. They definitely understood the most difficult part about a triple dive composition, playing the flanking routes. Great work from Taco, and they take down I would not say Hurricane Gaming is a more experienced squad, since most of their players are either have not played competitive or are from the LSC themselves, but definitely a more experienced organization coming all the way from Alpha. So congratulations for MFT for this feat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great start for this team. I think there were moments when it seemed maybe they stepped a little too far forward, or weren't able to prioritize, or weren't able to find the Fed Ezreal quite as fast. I mean, Bang 2 was doing everything he could to make sure he was evening out those fights, and Olio was finding the flank angles very well. But overall, Meta Falcon team just had a better read on cooldowns, just had a better read on when and how to do the objectives. I really liked the squad that they put together. I love the fact that they doubled up on these like diving assassins and managed to make use of both them, because we talked up 665, but how about Taco on this Akali? He was an absolute madman, and you talked about MVP in a fight. I feel like he deserves the MVP of the match.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that assessment right there. Like, his routes were so clean, just always cutting off the back line and having that focus with the Turbo Chem Tank, slowing down Ezreal, forcing him out of the fight early. You know, the tank Akali build might not kill you, but if you have an Akali in your face, you can't really do damage. Like, most of those Mystic shots are just not going to land. So he was able to have a huge oversized impact on these team fights. And on the other side for Hurricane Gaming, I don't think they should be too disheartened from this loss. I feel like most of their team fights on even footing were actually played quite well, but the main problem was the way that they started these fights. If you think about all of these fights, they were either chasing Diana to the detriment of their backline, or Cha-Cha was coming in at really weird moments. I feel like the mid lane engage where Cha-Cha just kind of walked in when everyone was walking out did the team no favors. And the final team fight where Cha-Cha teleported right in front of the enemy team also was very weird, because it put the team in an odd situation. Either they needed to defend their Rise, or they needed to keep themselves in a very, they needed to ditch him, or they needed to keep themselves in range of a Diana Moonfall. And unfortunately, they weren't able to escape what 665 could do to them.
Yeah, when you're forced into bad decisions, bad things are unsurprisingly going to happen. So definitely wanting to go back to the drawing board with some of Chacha's decision making. I think overall, though, you're absolutely right. I think Hurricane shouldn't take too much to heart from this loss because they had some really good moments there. Even 5v5s looked great. Even when they were at a gold deficit, they were finding angles. Bang, too, on that Ezreal. I mean, he's proven himself to be a really honest-to-goodness threat. I liked what we saw from ICU when he had the position on the Jace. I mean, that shock blast early on in the game, that seemed to be setting the pace for how things were going to go. There's definitely a lot of firepower on this team, and I really like what we saw from some of the individual components. They just have to shore up those mistakes. But that's not a unique problem to Hurricane. There are a number of the squads we've seen tonight that have the exact same issue. I'm looking at Impunity too. And if they can solve those are all solvable issues. We could see a really, really deep set of rosters here in the PCS this split, despite having so many new faces. It's exciting to see.
Oh, I'm just going to say this outright, but I'm already, happier with this version of Alpha Esports than I was of last season.
The rebrand works!
Yeah, the rebrand works. It was like Alpha Esports was a bit of a letdown last season, considering how many players that have gone to Worlds that they had on their roster, but weren't really able to do anything with. I like this new direction that they have. They're actually going into local talent that has not had that competitive exposure just yet. They are hedging their bets a little bit, but at least they're giving new talent an opportunity to shine. And we got some really good stuff out from Bang 2 and the bot lane from Karma, which a lot of people were questioning, why did you pick these guys up? Like, who are they? Why would you go to LSC and pick up someone's substitute? And, it just seemed really weird for a lot of observers of the scene, but they have proven their worth so far.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of question marks surrounding this Hurricane Gaming roster. We found a few answers so far, and our MVP is, in fact, going to be Taco on this Akali. He still dished some damage despite being on a tank build with that Turbo Chem tank, and he was in your face from minute 1 to the end. Not to mention, I want to give him a gold star for all that acting he pulled off, too, leading everybody on Hurricane astray. Really well played from this Meta Falcon team, and you can see that, well, there were questions about overall this squad and what their skill would be on each role. They certainly play well together as a team, and it kind of proves right why they wanted to stick together.
Yeah, I will have to kind of dampen everyone's expectations. This was an opponent that also had very little competitive exposure. I think if we have to track the progress of MFT, we really have to see how they do against the top 4 that we mentioned: J-Team, CFO, Beyond Gaming, and PSG in the future. But so far, so good.
Absolutely. Off to a good start. And mentioning a couple of those teams that you dropped in the top 4, we have got a very exciting matchup. The rematch of the Summer Split Finals. The rematch of the batch before the Summer Split Finals. It is going to be PSG Talent taking on Beyond Gaming right after this. You won't want to miss it.